Welcome to Atlas Balked, a weekly chronicle concerning the mundane, weird, and maybe even sometimes dramatic happenings of a simple fantasy baseball league. This podcast captures the thoughts and musings of Greg, Joe, Jack, and Tim, 4 of the 10 owners in the league. Download this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you get your pretentious and moronic podcast content. You can also connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and email. So DM us or send us a note at atlasbalked@gmail.com. This is episode 79 entitled Life After Fantasy. Welcome, Balker Nation. Good morning. It's great to have you here. J-Lo, how are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself, since nobody ever asks?
I'm doing great. Thanks.
Yeah, the second time doesn't count, Joe.
Yeah, I don't care, but...
I know, I sounded kind of angry, and I almost took it out. And I was like, well, I guess that's honestly what I felt. Like, no one cares about me.
Well, your mental health is important to us.
Thanks. It's already gone.
Mike cared. We were listening to it together. He turned to me and said, "Is that real? Is that true?" I was like, probably, I guess. I don't know.
I've been waiting patiently for 3 years. All right. Our very own royalty, GK, how are you?
I'm doing well, guys. I don't believe that Joe's doing well, though. I sense a little bit of angst, even more than normal, in his voice. But let's just keep going and see what happens.
He does sound a little nasally.
He does. Yeah. Well, he just seems angry.
No, I've been sick all week.
Ah.
He's wearing black, and typically when Joe wears black, it's always a good show. I don't know what it is about it, but it's a blacked out T-shirt.
Him and Johnny Cash.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Cash.
That's right. I'm just not quite as angry.
And then GK's got his Madness T-shirt on, which is great. We've talked a lot about GK's T-shirt collection.
Is that a state of mind or a band?
Both.
So that's what the T-shirt vending machine that Tim imagines I have in my bedroom spat out this morning.
And J-Lo. Good morning, J-Lo.
Yeah, I'm still good. You already asked me.
And swag.
But thanks for asking twice.
You're so forgettable.
See, that's what you get. You ask how he's doing, and you get asked twice. There you go.
I've been invisible most of my life, so I'm used to it.
The ass kissing is working for you, Joe. What's happening, fellas? You guys know it took the creator of the Rubik's Cube a month to solve the Rubik's Cube after he created it?
Oh, my God.
Like a month. Like he created it, and then he's like, all right, I'm going to do it now. And it took him a fucking month.
He probably just took the stickers off and rearranged them and told everybody he solved it.
Yeah.
Like the rest of us?
That's what I did.
Yeah, I was going to ask if anybody, you know what the record is?
I used to be able to do it consistently in under a minute 30 because there's a formula to do it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's a formula.
The record is 4.22 seconds.
That's insane to me. Like, I don't even think
Your hands can't move that fast.
I was going to say, that's exactly right. I don't think I could manipulate it that quickly.
And even if your hands could, you're like, I might be able to move something that fast, in that, but to actually know what the fuck I'm doing in 4.22, it doesn't seem realistic. I've tried. I've never completed it. I've thrown it on the ground multiple times.
I've only once or twice gotten 2 sides. Like
right. Yeah. That was my, yeah.
In my entire school, I think there was only one kid who ever fucking solved it without moving the stickers. And that kid's like a physician now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no one in my school was smart enough to do that. Is the guy, you said the guy who invented it took him a while to solve it, is his name Rubik, I assume? Like Dan Rubik?
He's a Russian.
It is, Erno Rubik.
Erno Rubik.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yep.
I thought he was Hungarian.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, that I don't have.
Communist.
Oh, Joe hates communists, everyone.
Oh, don't you?
Nah, I don't really know any.
Never done anything to me.
So this is our first episode. So we're in uncharted territory now. So the last 3 years, we typically would have hung up the mics and walked away for 6 months and basically enjoyed our Sundays like we can't do during the season.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're out here. We're beyond. So Scotty completed his epic beatdown of the Dreamers.
Congratulations again.
Congratulations, Scotty. Yeah,
nice job, Scotty.
Since this is the only way we can talk to you is through the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really. Talk about Rubik's Cubes. It really just it perplexed him. He could not make it on. It's a puzzle.
I'm guessing he didn't solve the Rubik's Cube.
Our friends at Squadcast, really, they set this up to be so easy to log in from anywhere.
Well, I had a little trouble this morning.
Yeah, but it took you solved it in 3 minutes. You know what I mean? From crisis to solution was 90 seconds. You know?
I didn't call anybody any names or anything.
That's right.
I will say the best part about that interview was the fact that I didn't have to be here for it. That was 20 minutes of my life I got to keep.
See?
And do what I wanted with.
Yep. You owe your lawyer.
Good riddance to those guys. Until next year, we don't have to talk about those fools.
But we hope to.
What?
I said, but we hope to. I kind of hope they give us more reasons to talk about them, to be honest with you.
Well, we kind of have to talk about them because they're the top two.
They were.
Any discussion of next year is going to include them, one way or another.
Are they the top 3? Are they the top 2.5?
2.5 men.
1/1 plus 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're the top. They're the best. You guys are the best.
Mm-hmm.
Great job.
Simply the best. Yeah, sorry.
You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone.
Nonetheless, Scotty is
Hear that
definitely
word.
the best because, once again, that was a fucking beatdown, that final game.
That was a beatdown. That was a beatdown.
That's the way to do it. When you're going to do it like that. Make sure there's
Much
no
like his
discussion.
interview.
Ooh.
Yeah, much like his interview.
Ooh.
I resent that. Oh,
You
Scotty.
two were fantastic. I
Right?
enjoyed
They
that.
pretty much saved the day. Just single-handedly stepped in, and
That was well done. Good improvisation.
they were the best of rodeo clowns anyone could ask for.
I don't think what we said was materially different than what Scotty himself would have said.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Honestly.
No, right. Yeah. The
You'll
irony
never know.
is the effort was to be credible, not funny. So it just ended up that it was entertaining as well. But yeah,
I'm waiting to see if Tito thought it was actually Scotty. You know?
So speaking of that debacle last week when Scotty could not make it on for his own interview, it ended where, Greg, you had to just kind of get up. You said you had some plans.
Oh, God, yeah.
Did your plans go well? Was it worth it to get off that call?
No, not really. Yeah. Another one.
was it better than being on the call at least?
No, it wasn't actually.
Oh, jeez.
No, it wasn't. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, but I can admit that I have ghosted again.
Oh.
This one's strange for me because I think I mentioned that for some stupid reason on our first date, or maybe it was prior to our first date while texting, that I mentioned that I did a podcast. And I've mentioned it before, and I've completely relied upon the fact that nobody would be interested whatsoever in listening to it, especially when I tell them that it's a fantasy baseball podcast. But this girl defied the odds, so she actually listened to it, multiple episodes, and was like giving me feedback and a little bit of friendly joking about my being a ghoster.
So you must have told her the title. She'd have never found it otherwise.
Oh, yeah, I told her. That's what I mean. Like, she said, what's the name of it? And I was like, oh, it's silly. And she was like, okay. And then she let it go. But then a few times she was like, send me the name of that podcast. Send me the name of your podcast. And so finally I did, thinking there's no way she gets past any first segment of any podcast we've done.
Yeah.
To hear anything really incriminating.
Yeah. Send her something from the first season.
I just sent her the name of it. I thought there's no fucking way this girl gets past anything. But she listened, and she said she was a fan.
Uh-oh.
She's a bot.
There you go.
Yeah, she owns a salon.
Nice.
I won't say where. And was playing it at the salon. It even said that some of her employees had their own little podcast, which, sounds as about appealing as ours to other people. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
What would that be? Dull shears?
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Cutting wit. I don't know.
So they were playing our podcast like over the speakers overhead in the salon?
I guess. Or maybe in their break room. I don't know. I didn't
okay. Yeah, maybe they were cleaning up.
It
seems like an odd thing to be playing while customers are coming in.
Well, I was going to say, why do they hate their customers so much?
I began treading lightly, though, because I was waiting for the other shoe to fall and for her to confront me with just all the stupid things that I've said,
Yeah, to some women, that could be a challenge, though. They might want to make them, I could be the one to change him.
Yeah, I think that. Well, I don't know. I won't go that far as to say that's what she had in her mind.
And he'll never know.
But she certainly didn't seem to mind. But now I have some real conflict because
there we go.
I don't want to be mean. Like, the whole purpose of my ghosting, I know it ultimately is mean, but in my mind somehow it's not. I don't know what I've done to convince myself.
How many is this happened before? Is this often where they know that you're a ghoster prior to getting into this? So that seems like it would be kind of a positive for you, right? Because now you're like, if you're not going to feel bad about ghosting, it's going to be this one, right? Like, you knew.
I'm conflicted though. Yeah, to your point, she knew that I was a ghoster, but I don't know. Maybe she thought it was part of my shtick. I don't know. I honestly don't know because I've never discussed being a ghoster with anyone I've gone out with. Oh, hey, by the way,
right.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that.
Yeah, I may seem to really like you, but
it's a lie.
There's at least a 50% chance that after a great date that we have, you'll never see or hear from me again.
Right, but that's my point, right? And then she says, "Okay, let's do it." You're like, "Oh shit, really? Okay."
Yeah, I don't know. I can't.
You're like, "Wait a minute, this isn't how it's supposed to go down. Hold on a second." Like,
sadly, Jack will never know the answer to her. She lives too far. That's one problem I've decided. But
no IKEA near her house.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though. Like, I don't mind talking about the girls I've ghosted, and even on this podcast, because I know that there's no chance they're going to hear the reasons I ghosted them. But knowing that there's a chance that this girl might listen to the podcast, I don't know if it'd be for answers.
A chance? I think it's almost a certainty. I think right now, at this moment, you are talking to her.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So to tell you guys why
she's gonna hear this, now.
To tell you guys why I ghosted her almost defeats the point of ghosting, because I ghost people because I don't want to say what it is about them that it made me want to not see them anymore.
Well, you already did. Jack didn't let you finish. You said she lives too far from an IKEA.
Yeah. Actually, that was the one. No, not the one. That was one of the.
That was the other one.
I sent you guys that photo from that IKEA, and that it was on the way to her.
Surprisingly,
house. So that wasn't
nice
bad.
Little surprise. Oh, an IKEA. She goes up 5 points immediately in his little scale there near an IKEA.
You really think
+5
that? On the other side of the camera, that there's not a poster of all the IKEA locations in the known world on Greg's other wall.
I like IKEA. I mean, I love IKEA. I like it. It's just because I had that gift card. That's why I went in Atlanta. But but the fact that she is or maybe or might be listening, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to. I mean, she's a lovely girl. There's nothing terrible. But yes, I could run down a laundry list of reasons that I decided to ghost her. But that's just mean.
Just saying there's a laundry list is kind of mean.
Well, that's what they're minor things. I'm a quirky guy. What can I tell you? I mean, like, the distance was definitely one of them. And here's another one that isn't so bad. She shouldn't take personally.
I'm going to give her the little ones. Big ones I'm going to save.
Yeah. It's her working schedule, because she works in a service industry. Like, Sunday and Monday are her 2 days off. And so, like, last Sunday, it was like her Saturday, and she was drinking up a storm. Well, that's an exaggeration. She had a few drinks. And I don't like to drink on Sundays when I got to go to work the next day. And so, it's just like, what is the future?
But she knows from listening to the podcast that you aren't completely opposed to that. And in fact...
No, I'm not. Yeah, I know. I'm not, but I try to avoid it because disasters happen when I drink on Sundays.
But see, that seems like that would be the perfect relationship for you, because you would never see each other. Your schedules are different. Sort of like ghosting within the...
Not being able to see each other that frequently is a positive thing in my mind. The distance and the schedule is too much. And I had to drive both times, and I was just too much. I thought this can't be going anywhere. But no, long story short, I've moved on, and and I'm still, still seeing what's out there. I haven't found Mrs. Right number 3 yet. We did get some viewer feedback. Somebody on Instagram wrote me and said that we gave good advice to the guy who's sleeping with his drug dealer. and this person his name is Brian M. I really enjoyed the segment about the drug dealer. You guys should do a dating show. So we have that out there. And I was like, that's an interesting idea.
Interesting.
Yeah, I did get a lot of positive feedback from the advice with the drug dealer. For some reason, that was a hit with the Bucker Nation.
And of course, I'm interested as to what he actually does. So hopefully we get another email.
Actually, he's probably dead now because he probably took one of those pieces of advice and he can't tell you what happened.
Right. Oh, hey, that's great. I actually think we should get some listener feedback. We had a listener give us some feedback, so we definitely want to talk about that. Let's go ahead and refill our drinks. Okay, welcome back, bots. We got some feedback from BH out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And BH reached out to us through Facebook and said, hey, you guys, still struggling trying to listen to the show, but I think the Q&A section is a good ad. First of all, like, I don't know what BH means by still struggling trying to listen to the show.
Yeah, fuck you. Yeah.
I think he saw this episode coming, maybe. That's the...
Maybe he's related to Scotty and he can't quite get the whole thing downloaded.
What was he court ordered to listen to it? You know what I mean? It's like,
you could take this one of two ways, right? Like, is he really, like, his life is so busy that he's trying to get to the show, or is it just like somehow self-torture for him to kind of move through the show?
yeah.
And
I
my
assume
guess,
the latter.
My guess is
and just the fact that we have this question might say anything else. But his question is, GK has said that he won't support his childhood team, the Pirates, under the theory that ownership is simply milking the team and the fans, and won't spend any of the money they're making on player salaries that would make them better. If this theory were true, wouldn't Bob Nutting have the money to get his teeth fixed? I'm going to hang up now and listen to your answer. And then he showed a picture of Bob Nutting's teeth, which do look fairly gnarly. So
and who is Bob Nutting?
He's the owner of the Pirates. Yeah. Well, I mean, clearly Bob Nutting has poor judgment, but Nutting is cheap, and so he probably thinks, just like his busted smile, he probably thinks that's good enough, just like he thinks the Pirates roster is good enough.
He takes the same thought process, right? Well, I can smile still, and I can chew still. I mean...
They work.
Yeah, it's good enough. We get through it. Yeah, we get through
my
it.
My choppers are fine, boys. Well, he had to save on his choppers because he needs to pay for Foghat next year to play after a game. Part of their concert series.
Well, thanks, BH. We appreciate your feedback and your input. And there you have it.
Keep struggling. Keep struggling.
Keep struggling, right? Yeah, the struggle is real, right?
I'll get the name of that girls' salons podcast, and then we'll seem like a breath of fresh air.
Honestly, what is this? Like, now that we don't have, so we built this podcast on essentially a fantasy baseball league. The fantasy baseball season is over, yet we're still going on. Like, if you were to describe this podcast in 5 words or less, what would it be?
Greg's dating device.
The struggle is real.
Struggle is real. Greg's dating device. Has this won you some dates?
No.
GK? No, I didn't think so. Yeah.
Friends talking about bullshit. I mean,
2 guys fucking an alligator.
2 guys.
Well, you know what? This is just like Nightline. Remember, Nightline started with the Iran hostage crisis.
No, is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
So you're comparing us to a hostage crisis?
No, I'm comparing us like how things evolve. Like Nightline began after the news to give daily updates on the Iranian hostage crisis, but it was such a compelling, media vehicle that even after the hostages were freed, it continued. That's us.
I like
when do our hostages get freed?
No,
Never.
they just did. No, the season just ended. Hostages are freed. Now we can talk about other stuff.
Oh, no, we can't.
So that's us. We're Ted Koppel.
So if you're to describe this to someone else, like someone says, "Oh, your podcast," and you like, how do you describe it?
It's 4 friends' humorous take on life, in the our perspective on culture, on the news, on sports, and our silly lives. That's what it is.
I've actually put some time and effort into this over the last short while.
Oh, were you
and-
saying that I haven't?
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. That is, I think that was,
My response was inadequate?
yeah, I think that was specifically why he said it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't say
I thought my
inadequate.
response was pretty good.
It was with such little
I mean,
time and effort put into it.
Okay, Jack, tell us what this is about.
This is the best I can do at this point. The out-of-the-box trials, tribulations, thoughts, and musings of 4 owners in a simple baseball league. So it's part of what he is saying, but we need to, and I don't like trials and tribulations, but those things have been added to what it was at first, essentially.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Before it was just thoughts and musings of the baseball league, and now it's still thoughts and musings, but of much more than the baseball league, as well as the tattoo escapades and so on and so.
Right.
Trials, tribulations. Again, I don't like those words. I'm again throwing this together, but if you can explain that in a shorter, more intelligent sentence, I think that's as close as I've been able to come.
So you're criticizing my extemporaneous description, and you spent a lot of time, and that's what you came up with? Jesus Christ, I should be applauded. It's the monkey shines of 4 middle-aged chums.
That's kind of my point. Is it's not even with time, it's just as difficult.
Jesus Christ.
So
who's the dummy for investing their valuable time? Wasting your time. God.
So the fact that I care makes me a dummy.
Yeah, that's right.
Unbelievable.
No, the fact that you care doesn't make you a dummy.
No, just that response does.
Right. That'll take.
Oh my God.
So, currently, it's Welcome to Atlas Balked, a weekly chronicle concerning the mundane, weird, and maybe even sometimes dramatic happenings of a simple fantasy baseball league. But in reality,
Right.
if I think back to all the stuff I really have enjoyed about this season, very little has to do with the mundane, weird, and dramatic happenings of a simple fantasy baseball league.
Of the league, right.
So just change it to Monday weird.
Okay. But what I'm saying is that
Okay, I like where you're going.
that doesn't capture, the tattoo incident.
So say that again slowly.
Welcome to Atlas Balked, a weekly chronicle concerning the month. By the way, this has been on every one of the episodes.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I know, but I just want to hear you say
You want to
it,
break
'cause
it down?
I
Okay,
have
all
a
right.
thought, yeah.
Okay,
And
so
I'm gonna go like this when I want you to pause, okay? And then I'm gonna finish the sentence.
normally I have you off to the side, but let me put you right in the center. Okay.
No one puts baby in a corner.
That is so accurate. Welcome to Atlas Balked, a weekly chronicle concerning the mundane, weird, and maybe even sometimes dramatic happenings
of 4 friends brought together by a fantasy baseball league.
There you go.
So here's my thinking
Something
on
like
right?
that.
So the fantasy baseball league, which was the subject when we started, when we had the thrilling episodes of Beaten by a Benigno or Fred Lynn.
I like giraffe or what was it? Business giraffes racing.
Racing with giraffes, right? But that was like the first indication of the fact that this was not just a weekly chronicle concerning the mundane, weird, and maybe even sometimes dramatic happenings of a simple fantasy baseball league. It's actually something very different. That does not capture Tina Marie at all. What we have and what we're describing are 2 different things. And in fact, the fantasy baseball league is the setting of whatever it is we're doing, but it's not the subject.
Okay.
And you keep going at four friends, right? Which is great, but
All right, 3 friends and Joe. Okay.
There you go. That's a better way to put it. 3 friends and some guy who's here for some reason.
Oh, Joe.
Right.
no.
We're kidding. God,
Unless they
almighty.
have a failed interview to do.
Mr. Sensitive.
So we're kind of, again, I obviously did it in a poor way. Thank you, Greg, for continuing to point that out. But that's kind of what I did, right? Instead of it being about the league, it's about us who happen to be in a league, right? Like you said, that the setting is the league. And then what actually happens.
Yeah, I described it as, sorry to interrupt, but not really.
No.
I described it last week as it's our foibles, right? It's basically us making fun of ourselves. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we are the posies, and that's really what this show is about.
And everyone else. Yeah, we make fun of everyone.
Right, and Dusty and Scotty and Pops and Mikey and, yeah, so like totally
Justin.
yeah, like
We'll get Justin in there.
HR
Right.
Courtney.
HR Courtney. Like, if you think about the universe of who's in our story here, what we're actually chronicling, it's the league that brings us together, but that's not really what we chronicle. I mean, I guess we give updates and stuff like that, but if we think about 6 months of not having league news to talk about, we probably need to really define what it is we actually are.
Again, I didn't spend hours on this like Jack, so don't expect something as eloquent as Jack did.
You're such a dick. How about 3 guys and a dick?
3 posies and a dick.
There you go, and that meets the 5 words or less.
Yeah, write that down.
It's the weekly chronicle of a friendship forged in fantasy baseball, united in stupidity, or something like that.
Now, I like the stupidity part.
Yeah.
And imagine that you have
Getting there, yeah.
you have 7 to 10 seconds to tell someone about this podcast, and it's not easy. And I'm not expecting you to all have it right away.
For middle-aged adolescents,
3 guys and a dick actually works pretty well because it leaves it open who's the dick from week to week
until you listen.
Right.
How do you do it, Joe? How do you tell people about the podcast currently?
emotionally immature adults.
That's what's so great about being me is I don't have to worry about it because I don't tell anybody.
The rant instead of the musings, the rantings of 4 emotionally immature adults, men,
Right, but as you're scrolling through, think about this. There's thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, right? First of all, how would we describe it? And then would it sound interesting? Because I actually think this podcast is interesting. I do. I wouldn't do it if I didn't. It's interesting because, first of all, Greg, right? And Greg's willingness to share his stories is a big part of that. All of you have this really kind of strange and arcane knowledge that blows me away.
It's painful stories, misdemeanors, and trivia.
I like that. Yeah.
Awkward stories and painful memories cultivated from the lifetime of 4 middle-aged losers.
Right. So you guys are both kind of swirling around the same thing.
Swirling around the same toilet.
Well,
What Tim's saying is it's got to be shorter than what we keep coming up with. That's why he said he liked it when I said painful stories, misdemeanors, and trivia.
Awkward stories of our pointless lives. I'm just thinking out loud.
Okay, so that's getting closer. Yeah, that's getting closer.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when someone says, "Oh, you have a podcast? What's it about?" and you're like, "Well, it's kind of like awkward stories about our pointless lives." Like, you know what I mean? That's closer. I don't think that's actually...
It's like Seinfeld, a show about nothing,
Yes, now you're tracking.
And takes, though, right? It's not just stories, so it's like takes, opinions, views, fringe views. Like, again, we tend to deal on the fringe of whatever we're talking about as opposed to, going straight down the highway.
Yeah.
There's a lot of possibilities, but again, like I said, now 24 hours from now, you're going to not have anything better than what you've come up with now, and you're going to text me and go, all right, I get it. I'm not, it's just within those 24 hours, it's still difficult is my point.
So the phrase, and just this would be the back part of it, seemingly normal guys is like something in my mind. Awkward stories or embarrassing stories or hard to believe stories from seemingly normal guys. Well, whatever we do, I think there should be a second sentence. The second sentence is, and shit jokes.
Dot, and shit jokes.
What would be cool is if we could each carry like a personal bleeper machine, and then when we describe it, we just bleep ourselves, and that's the description of the show is beep beep.
Yeah, because I think it's definitely gone beyond our simple fantasy baseball league. And in fact, I think since mid-season 1, when we talked about an epic collision of hair, we started to move to the fringes. Yeah. We started to talk about things, right, HQ, things that aren't at the center or the core. We acknowledge that we're not professionals and that there are things, miscellanea, if that's the proper way to say it. But is that the proper way to say it, guys? Is miscellanea or
never heard that
just
word.
Kind of this weirdness or things that are kind of out there that aren't in the mainstream?
Yes, that's the correct way to say it.
The random thoughts and the off-center opinions of four seemingly normal guys.
Right?
I like off center. That's yeah. I mean, everybody has opinions. Ours are fucking whack. That's in some way to out of the box, off center.
The random
fringe,
thoughts and the off-center opinions of four seemingly normal guys or seemingly respectable guys.
Keep it going. Keep it. Not now. Good. I'm just saying over text and yeah.
No, I'm done with this. Just so Tim come up with something good and make it happen.
Oh, there we go.
And he's back.
Greg's off the wagon or on the wagon. Yeah, whichever one it is.
Just make Tim do it.
I'm done with effort.
Well, it sounds like a producer's task to me, not a talent's.
Just make Tim come up with it. I've got some ghosting to do.
This is exactly what the talent is for. This is exactly what it is. So, okay, let's end this segment and come back and I don't know what we have next.
We could talk about podcasts that we're all listening to.
Yeah, okay, great. Sounds good. All right, see you in a minute. Well, hey, welcome back, Nation. And I wanted to just start off with something that we don't do a lot of. In fact, I think in the 80 episodes that we've done, this is the first time, but I should.
I guess that's not often. Yeah, that's not often.
Right? Is a corrections and revisions statement. Like any good news source, we should correct ourselves when we're news outlet. We should correct ourselves when we're wrong.
And like any good news outlet, we're putting it on the back page so nobody actually sees it.
Exactly. If you've made it this far, folks, you've clearly passed out and then woken up, and now you're listening to this. But
can't wait.
Yeah. Folks, you do have a sleep timer on your podcast there. You can just set it, and then that way you can pick us back up after you pass out, right?
Right, exactly. I know I said the league pays late last week, but I need to mention that one of our league owners took umbrage to that. Was very upset and incensed that I had said that our league pays late. So most of our league pays late. Mikey, on the other hand, we call him Iron Mike because he's so solid on paying his bills. Iron Mikey is definitely not someone who pays late. So I just wanted to make sure that we got that right. Mikey pays on time. Thank you for reaching out, Mikey.
Throw Chris in there too, right? Chris actually sends you checks like beforehand.
Chris sends me. So he said, "Well, yeah, Chris."
And then he doesn't spend any money. So
yeah, he pays early. He realizes he's out on week 4, and then just sends me the
here's the check.
The amount.
I'm not going to spend any more.
And then he doesn't do anything else. Yeah, he does nothing else after that point. Yeah, so Mikey and Chris, yes, do pay on time or early.
But Mikey's the son of a late payer then.
But Mike's dad actually called me yesterday and asked how will I find out what I owe in Juiceless. So he actually called me as well.
What'd you say?
What was your answer?
The internet. That's what you said.
He said that
the website.
He had texted Tim a couple of times and that Tim ignores him. And that he was wondering how he would find out.
I don't know.
So
I was waiting for the co-commissioner that does all the work to tell me what everyone owes, so that I can then do the blame work and say,
you could have responded to him and said, you know what? That's a very thoughtful, and I appreciate your proactivity. I haven't calculated it yet.
That's what I told him.
Maybe it's not that we pay late; it's that our commissioners bill us late.
Well, it's both.
I actually think that sounds like someone who really could step into the commissioner role. I mean, I think that's well thought out. I agree. He's
got a solution for the problem.
That
storyline's played out, boys.
So you'll accept it then, because the storyline was you resisted it, but now
we've evolved beyond the league. All right, the league's
listen, you're not dating, so you have lots of time.
I didn't say I wasn't dating.
The league has become secondary now.
I haven't said I wasn't dating.
So anyway, so Mikey and Chris, you brothers, you guys, you pay great. Everyone else, not so much.
Well, that was
pieces of shit. Myself and
passive aggressive all the way around.
So GK, you've been kind of getting into some different podcasts, I think, as we kind of explore this medium. I share your love of podcasts, but one that you keep talking about is your favorite band sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I can be honest, guys. I don't normally listen to comedy podcasts. I mean, I enjoy doing this podcast, but that's pretty much the only kind of comedic podcast I listen to is Your Favorite Band Sucks. And, kind of in a ironic twist, it was the gal who I ghosted last week who turned me on to that one. So thank you. I won't mention your name, but thank you. But it's good. I like that podcast, but I like to be scared. Like, I listen to my podcasts at night as I'm going to sleep for like the hour before I go to sleep. I like horror movies, but I like things that are really actually genuinely frightening. And it's too infrequent that I can find something that actually kind of unnerves me to listen to. I can only point to 2 podcasts that have effectively done that. But I don't know if you guys are interested in that sort of podcast or not. What do you guys listen to?
Well, do you have those horror podcasts?
Well, it's the one that I like the most, and it was like 2 or 3 seasons, and I've listened to them all. It's kind of this pseudo documentary podcast called The Black Tapes.
Mm.
And it's about this. I mean, again, it's not a real documentary series. It's a pseudo one. It's done in the style of a real documentary series, and it's about this this paranormal kind of investigator who has a podcast, and she hooks up with this like not hooks up romantically. She meets this parapsychologist who has made his career out of debunking paranormal activity.
Ghosting the ghost.
Yeah. In the podcast, he has this challenge that anyone who can send him demonstrable evidence of a paranormal event, he'll give $1 million to. And so it's, this journalist investigating paranormal activity meets this professor and kind of cajoles him into sharing the evidence that has been submitted to him over the years by various people, and those are the black tapes. These examples of paranormal. And I got to tell you, like, when I first started listening to it, not every episode is scary, but like listening to them in the dark by myself as I'm drifting off to sleep, they actually did unnerve me a few times and also induced some actual nightmares. Like, they were like really scary at various points. And then there's this other podcast that I've just started listening to. Now, not all of these are intended to be scary, but several of them have been unnerving to me. It's called The Unexplained.
That sounds cool.
And so The Unexplained, it's an examination of stories. Now, this is purported to be, I mean, it's not fictional. The stories that are examined are purported to be real, and it's kind of like a scientific look at different phenomenon, whether it's reports of hauntings or reports of
UFOs,
things like that.
Yep.
Like, did you guys ever listen to a long time ago when I was in college and then slightly thereafter, there used to be this, I think it might still be on, I think it was called AM Coast to Coast. Did you ever listen to it? It was a radio show.
Yes. Came on at, you're talking about the one that came on late at night?
Yeah, like midnight till 2 a.m.
Yes.
George Norrie and Art Bell.
That was great radio.
I loved it. I loved that show. I used to listen to it like all the time when I was in college. I would listen to it as I was going to sleep, and it was just that. It was and this Unexplained is a little slicker version of that. Some really interesting stories, and there's been a couple that I've listened to that like honestly had me like doing double takes at my bedroom door, like, did I leave it open a crack, or I mean, honestly, it had
fucking
me
shadow people in the corners.
Yeah, right. It had me looking around like, oh shit, and then I enjoy that. It's fun to get a little scare, but those are both really, I think really good podcasts. The Unexplained, and then the Black Tapes. I really enjoy both.
That sounds cool. I listen to, I think I've mentioned that Time Suck a lot, and again, that's just a humorous look at history, basically, and some of it is actually that some of it's debunking. He does the Bigfoot, he does UFOs, he does different cult, but then he'll also do Jack the Ripper or Manson, or
I love Jack the Ripper.
He just started a new one too with his wife called Scared to Death, and it's
oh really
him. Yeah, it's He's a few in. I'm guessing it'll evolve a little bit before it settles in completely. He's only like 3 podcasts in on that one. The others, he's got quite a few. But yeah, it's him and her. They do a video of it as well. They're on YouTube now. And they're just sitting in a dark, creepy room. And it's him essentially telling, true or documented scary stories, basically. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
What's it called again, Jack? I'm sorry.
That one's called Scared to Death.
Scared to Death.
Yeah,
cool. Okay.
He does it. Dan Cummings is the guy. Again, he's a comedian. Like I said, Time Suck I listen to religiously. Scared to Death he just started. And then I listen to a couple, same 2 guys do a couple, and one's called Crime in Sports. And again, a humorous, I have a hard time without humor, but a humorous look at, as you would expect, athletes over the years that have gotten into trouble. Like I just did Dennis Rodman. I haven't got to OJ yet. But Dennis Rodman was an interesting one.
Fuck that guy.
I'm doing.
What about Arch Schleister?
That's a good one. And then the other one they do is called Small Town Murder. And again, as the title would depict, they just go around actual true, small town murder stories. But they go through like the history of the town and
that's cool.
Compare it to different towns throughout, so on and so forth. So those are they're pretty entertaining. They're both a little longer, 2-3 hours, but pretty entertaining. Cool. That's what I'm listening to at the moment.
Yeah, that's cool. I like the sound of. Well, and I love Serial too. I should mention. Yeah. I loved all 3 years of Serial, for different reasons.
Well, I'm a big fan of indie podcasts. I don't like the kind of the super well produced, top notch stuff. A lot of that stuff that comes out of NPR. Serial, I did thoroughly enjoy the first season a lot. The next few seasons haven't been as exciting for me. I am looking forward to. So we're getting close to Thanksgiving, and that means another episode of Till Death Do Us Blart is coming out. I cannot wait for that. I'm so excited. So this will be the 4th episode of that. So I'm looking forward to that. I've been listening to a fantastic podcast about Radiohead. Now, I don't know if you're a fan of Radiohead or not a fan of Radiohead, where you fall on that.
I am.
But, oh my gosh, it's essentially, it takes you through the entire life of the band and breaks it down with these very intelligent super fans who talk about the music and talk about the history of the band and how the songs come together and the types of in the approaches that they use in the songwriting and the writing of the music and so that to me that's kind
of cool. Yeah I feel very close actually to the band Radiohead, not because I actually know anything.
Fake Plastic Podcast. What's that?
Oh, sorry. What was the title?
Fake Plastic Podcast. It's great.
That sounds good.
Very cool.
Why are you so close to Radiohead?
Last time I saw them was in Tampa, and I was on quite a bit of mushrooms, so I had a very a very religious like experience with them. They didn't know it, of course, but I know.
Jack has suddenly become much more self-revelatory, over the last few episodes.
Yeah. He's
that's good. I like him.
He's our.
I thought you were going to say it's because you own a radio and you have a head.
No, but
I feel close to them.
He's
I don't think I own a radio.
Pharmacologist as well. Yes.
Yeah,
I saw them in Portland. That was the last time I saw them too.
Yeah,
I did.
Oh, really?
Good. They were really good. Yeah.
It was a great show.
It was a great show. Yeah, it really was. So I always assumed that Tom York. I always assumed Radiohead was just Tom York. Like, did the other guys in the band contribute in terms of songwriting and creative direction?
Yeah, and
I don't know a lot about. I'm a fan. I'm not a super fan.
Yeah, several of them have actually done a lot of independent work. That is, so Tom York's independent work is Atoms for Peace, and he's done some individual Tom York stuff as well.
I know that stuff.
They're all fantastic musicians in their own right.
The only thing I would throw in there, because I know absolutely nothing about Radiohead, I realized when I referenced Radiohead at the very beginning of the podcast, I was actually talking about Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins. That's why I laughed. Now I understand that.
That was a great show too back in the day.
When you were moving your face close to the camera and you had
said
this
I look
giant
like Billy
pumpkin
Corgan
head.
Yeah.
You
It's
look
funny.
like Billy Corgan. And
Yeah.
you shouldn't.
He's a strange looking dude. But
and I got it a lot too.
Yeah.
Big giant round head and wears dresses.
Strange isn't necessarily bad.
I've accomplished a lot. Consider
Billy Corgan was. It's interesting. I just finished "Serve the Servant," which is the book about specifically Kurt Cobain, but kind of secondarily Nirvana, and is written by their longtime agent. And but Billy Corgan and his connection to Nirvana, and that Billy Corgan, by all accounts, from as long as I've known about him, he just sounds like a complete asshole, like just a total fucking asshole. From Chicago, right? I mean, that's where he's from. Yeah, definitely writes great music, and
I've heard him interviewed like on Howard Stern a few times, and he seemed like admittedly kind of troubled at times, but he didn't sound overly like aloof or obnoxious to me. But that was just a couple of interviews. But
yeah, I can't tell you specifically why, but in my head, he's a dick. Like I know I've heard over time that he's been a dick or acted like a dick or had that holier
when
than
you
thou
look like
type.
him or I, you get angry. You're angry with God.
I didn't know Billy Corgan.
When you look like us, you get pissed off about it. We don't all have your guys' movie star good looks.
Talking to you,
I
Joe.
don't know what movie you're watching.
Do you guys all agree that as much as we enjoy Radiohead, that Coldplay is terrible?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, thank God.
Yep.
I can stay friends with you guys. I hate Coldplay.
I think
they're terrible.
They're
like Radiohead for dummies, if you ask me.
But Coldplay is like, they're kind of an odd distilled mix of like weak U2 and uninteristing musically Radiohead, and put them together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Nice.
Every friend I had was like, I love Coldplay. I'm like, oh, it's because you're not that intelligent.
It's a good description, though. It's a new game. Describe Coldplay or Atlas Balked, which is easy.
No. Coldplay. Radiohead for dummies.
3 words. Piece of shit.
And it didn't help that he got with Gwyneth and then they consciously decoupled. That only added to my anger towards them.
Why did that anger you that they consciously decoupled?
Because it's such a pretentious thing to say. It's such a Gwyneth Paltrow bullshit thing to say. I mean, they're trying to make it sound like there was some higher level philosophic movement,
Didn't she name her child Apple?
Yes. That I don't mind. But it's just we're consciously decoupling.
It's like Kanye naming his kid North, right? Like that. I like that. Yeah, but
or Frank Zappa's kids. Yeah.
So wait, but I just want to dig into this just a bit. So you're saying that you would have preferred what a messy kind of drawn out like horrible breakup, or just a simple ghosting, or like what is it that bothers you about conscious decoupling? By the way, that it just sounds clinical, but. I don't know if it's that.
Well, again, I don't know them.
That's what you did when you were done having sex.
I didn't know them. It's just, to me...
Partly, yeah.
I didn't know them, so what annoyed me about it is, you know what? It seemed to be pretentious and unnecessary.
Got
know what? Gwyneth, Chris, do you. Whatever, dude. You're getting divorced. Lots of people do it. But to me, it's those morons trying to make it sound to the public like, you know what? Hey, what you guys all do when you get divorced is you've failed. You failed as married people.
I hear, I get it.
But what Chris and I are doing isn't failing, and in fact, we should be lauded for our decision to consciously decouple, because it's a new plane of consciousness that we've invented.
Well, fucking celebrities, if you pay attention to anything they do, then you're the moron.
Yeah, while Chris was working on his new album that's going to be life-changing,
Joe, don't
we
hold
decided
back.
to consciously decouple. It's just, it's
Well, I'm
obnoxious.
sorry.
Although
Who cares?
It assumes that we care, that, why their marriage was ending. I really don't. It's like, okay, whatever, but it's like, no, we have to invent something.
Yeah, they're two fucking narcissists that got in a relationship
exactly.
together.
Thank you, Joe.
What led you to believe that would fail?
Well, I
So
mean,
nice
a lot
to
of
see.
pretentious people get divorced, but it's like, guys, just say you're getting divorced. No one's going to think less of you. In fact, like Joe said, we kind of come to expect that sort of thing in celebrities. But it's like, no, I'm a pseudo intellectual Gwyneth Paltrow. I want people to think I'm British, even though I'm Blythe Danner's daughter. But I'm going to come up with something that makes me look like I'm, extra evolved, like Brad Pitt didn't dump me.
Okay, so two thoughts off that. First of all, describing Atlas Balked, pretentious and moronic, actually works. Just
We're
so
not
you know.
pretentious. Moronic, I could see. Yeah.
Right, so pretentious
Certainly
and
not
moronic.
pretentious.
I'm just saying.
I resent
I'm just
that.
saying.
I resent that. We're not pretentious.
What's Atlas
I
Balked?
resemble that
it's this-
remark.
It's this pretentious and moronic podcast.
Yeah.
And number two, what was my second thought? I had a second thought
About
but now-
Blythe Danner?
That's
Yeah.
the moronic part.
Well, I clearly play that part.
Pretentious is that we do this in the first place and expect
no.
anybody to sit through it.
Right. Yes. But Greg just said she's Blake
Blythe
Danner's daughter.
No,
and I'm like,
Blythe
who the
Danner.
fuck is that? Who is that?
Blythe Danner? You don't know who
Yeah.
Blythe Danner is?
No.
Jack, tell Tim who Blythe Danner is.
Who? You talking to me?
Blythe Danner. She was Robert De Niro's wife in Meet the Parents.
Oh, is that who that is?
Oh.
Yeah, Blythe Danner.
Yeah, she's been in a
okay.
lot of shit. She's older.
Yeah. Hot,
She was back in the day.
You've seen Meet the Parents, right, Tim?
I have, but
She's De Niro's wife in that movie.
She's a well-known actress from before
Yes.
your time.
Yeah,
right.
Tim.
Okay. Right.
Kind of
I just-
like Smashing
Suzanne
Pumpkins
Pleshette.
and Radiohead are well-known bands after my time.
fair enough.
I
fair enough.
can't name you a
I just
Tim had a-
Radiohead song.
Tim had
one
to
of
wear
the-
his earplugs to the movies that time. He said
It's
Meet
what-
the Parents. It's just too loud with that surround sound.
It's one of the
That new
things I
enhanced
love
surround
about Greg
sound's too
is that
loud.
He just throws names out and then acts like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You don't know who that is? Like seriously?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
My wife does that to me all the time.
Supporting
I mean-
characters in rom-coms.
Blythe
just
Danner's
I-
a pretty prominent actress. I mean, let's be honest.
All right, boys.
Anyway,
Well, listen, it's been great.
I
It's
got to
been
get
fun.
to Trader Joe's.
Yep, get to Trader Joe's. Have your fun. Adios.
Later, boys.
We'll talk to you next week. Good night.
Will
Be
we?
good, fellas.
Bye.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
Yep.
Next week?
next week.
I thought you said you were going away.
Yeah.
Or you had guests.
I canceled all that because I thought we had something here, but maybe I should reset my plans. I don't know.
Oh, dude. It's Mr. Negative. God damn. You know what, Paul and George? That song didn't sound good the first time we recorded it. Let's not make the White Album.
Was that Yoko?
All right, boys, we're going to tape you guys
We can
together.
start over.
Tim's going to have to tape the podcast together once again.
Way to go, boys. Let's punt.
It's only first down, coach.
3rd and 1. Let's punt.
They're really giving us the business.
How excited are you as a player?
But we're gonna beat them in that barbershop quartet contest later.
Rub some dirt on it and get back out there, Edwards.
Run up his back and dive. That's
Edwards, tuck your small intestine back into your pants. Get out there.